pretty funny that when Kanye came out, he was more extreme than Fuentes was on almost everything. And then I look like Fuentes' little group of people got real mad at another ex-friend of mine who goes by the name MrGirl.
Nah, you went real hard for MrGirl for him to then launch an investigation into you.
Pretty weird, isn't it? I will say, though,
what is the status of the investigation?
JK Rowling initially made complaints. This is what all turfy women do, okay? Trans exclusionary radical feminists. Is they said that trans women were gonna come in, they were gonna steal our spaces and make us unsafe. That's what they said. I think 5 years ago, that was ridiculous to say because people weren't advocating for that. Trans people just wanted the right to medical care that wasn't cosmetic, that was covered by insurance, that could help them live the lives they wanted to live, which is fine. I think it was fine. But then things got a little bit crazy. COVID accelerated everything crazy. And now you've got people saying things like,
How did Fuentes get unsuspended off Twitter for 1 day and then get deleted the next day? And we never got any kind of confirmation, right, about what he did or said?
Something.
We have no idea who's running these. Who's in charge of making the decision?
I don't even think he tweeted. It was something he said.
Is it some intern in India?
Yeah.
Like, what is it?
it's a series of zeros and ones and zeros. It's all fucking automatic.
It's horrifying.
These days.
It's horrifying.
It's all automatic.
That's the thing that scares me the most is that I don't even think these decisions are being made by human beings. They're running the transcript of our show through an algorithm. If the robot picks up too many red flag words, it goes, I'm going to take your livelihood away.
Okay, but
that is what happens. I don't know if you're joking.
No, but
that is
but then when you escalate it, does a real person look at it then?
A real person looks and makes sure that everything ran correctly.
Yeah,
and then that's
make sure the robot.
There are thousands of active anti-Fuentes people on the internet who I guarantee were watching any Spaces account that he was on Twitter and definitely reporting anything that he said that was even slightly edgy. So for him, it's not like he's just getting hit with the random consequences of the algorithm. He's got fucking Media Matters monitoring every move he makes as soon as he gets back on Twitter, and him getting deleted right away is a huge W for them, right?
Can we talk about all these people that wanted to boycott the Harry Potter game? We're never going to play it anyway. Where are all these Elon haters? Why the these lefties all boycott Twitter and stop isn't it?
Well, they went to Mastodon before they realized that it sucks and is full of child pornography. And they
all came back on Twitter. I just think it's lame. If you want to boycott something, give up something that's actually hard to give up. You are obsessed with Twitter. You know that Elon, who's basically Hitler 2.0 to you guys in an electric car instead of a Volkswagen, now you guys are supporting all of Twitter and all of Elon's advertising shit by tweeting all day. I don't know. It seems kind of.
Because like football. Oh yeah.
No, because it would have been hard for them to give it up, but they can avoid playing the video game.
They're like the kids that gave up like diet soda for Lent or some shit or some pop that you never drank.
It's like when Nickelodeon had the big help and you had to call into the hotline and pledge hours to clean up your community, and I would just call in and be like 1 billion hours and hang up the phone.
What a
I spent a lot of time hating on what Elon's done with the verification system on Twitter, which I think is totally fair. But the other day, I had the realization that, it completely makes sense for me to pay for the verification Twitter Blue thing on my porn account of Plug Talk because you get better amplification. I noticed that when I look at my For You tab on Twitter, then I'm seeing people with Twitter Blue over and over and over and like not particularly popular posts. So it's not the kind of shit they normally show you where it'll show me something from somebody I don't even follow that's really viral, but it shows you Twitter Blue stuff nonstop. So it's just a purely pragmatic thing, even though I think that what he's done with the verification has been a disaster. It's still just makes sense to pay for it.
And everybody's following suit. Facebook's doing it, right? Instagram.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'll probably end up paying on there too.
It's one of those things where they realize like, why leave money on the table? Everybody's obsessed with our service. You can probably charge $100 to have your profile blink and scream rainbow noises.
Well, like all they had to say was you get access to customer support on Instagram if you pay $12 a month or whatever, because I know infinite people on Instagram that have just been dying for some kind of customer support for all these years. Yeah. But the problem with social media companies is it just doesn't make sense business-wise for them to fucking pay.
No, it's horrifying. They make decisions without ever consulting you or telling you what you did wrong. Right. You get strikes in your account. For YouTube, the only way to contact them is to tweet at a random account on Twitter. You're like, this is your official customer services on Twitter? Why is it
works
not on?
Really well, too.
And it does!
And it's funny because I'll have like a 620,000 sub YouTube channel, and if I get dinged, I'm like, but then I'll go to like 100,000 follower Twitter account, and I have like, the CEO of YouTube on their knees, like, how can we help you? Yeah, it's like, that's kind of weird that I have to go to a whole other social media thing.
No sense. It's crazy. It's the unbearable silence of our technological overlords that they have complete control. They don't tell us what the rules are. And when you go, well, can I just like talk to? I just want to talk to a human being. I just want to know there's someone there. And they're like, we can't give you.
But
that.
in retrospect, now that we understand that the premium user experience on every social network is going to involve you paying like $10 or $15 a month, it does seem like kind of a big ask. I'm using the service completely for free, and I'm demanding customer service as soon as anything goes wrong. Once you're paying money, if they won't give you like access to somebody who's going to tell you why your Instagram got deleted, that seems insane. So, I mean, it's basically going to create like a caste system where people who pay are going to be able to get
it makes no sense for me.
basic access to customer support.
We're all rich here. We're all good with that.
Yeah,
we're ready for the cast.
We're rolling.
We're ready for Twitter apartheid.
I like that you can boost your dick pics. That's one of their selling features, that it moves yours to the front of the line if you pay. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
With the dick pic.
They didn't say dick pic explicitly, but it's obviously
The
implied.
omni-liberal is not using Twitter Blue. Explain yourself.
Well, I wasn't sure if my account would get rebanned.
You think it might?
Well, no,
Who
because I'm a
unbanned you?
boring fucking I got in contact with the top, not the Elon guy, but someone else.
Oh, you talked to somebody within the organization?
I had a guy. There's a bit of an aside, but I basically have a guy who messages me. I have a really hard time asking for favors in my personal life. That's just very hard for me to do. I don't know why. I'm an asshole normally to everybody online, but personally, I have a really hard time asking for things. So this guy, he messages me. He's like, listen, I think I can get your account back. It's like, okay, well, tell me how. So he goes through a whole bunch of shit, and he gets me connected with the head of Twitter's trust and safety. And so I shoot an email. I'm like, hey, like, this is my account. Like, do you think I can do anything? Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, well, actually, telling people to kill yourselves is like an insta-bannable offense. You've done that about 12,000 times in your account. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't even get a warning for that. I didn't know. And she's like, normally we'll give somebody a second chance, but I see that you've had 7 different accounts here that have been permabanned. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm sorry for wasting your time. Thanks a lot, was my response. And the guy's like,
Kill yourself.
I left it in a good note. But then the guy messaged me. He's like, no. You need to ask harder. You need to keep pushing. And I'm like, okay, well, I kind of feel like a it. She seems like she's not. He's like, no, trust me. Send more email, push hard. I'm like, okay. So I sent emails like, I can be an asset to your platform. I'll make a good faith effort to reform, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, okay, here's your account back. And I'm like,
That got you banned off Twitter?
Yeah.
But you've returned, right?
Yeah, I got, thanks to Elon.
Really? He's who got you back on the platform?
Not him personally.
But you were
I don't
banned.
know.
It was
Maybe
him personally.
it might have been.
I think in my case, he personally intervened. I think he knew.
Yeah, what the I've been following you for a while, and then I didn't realize that you had been deleted until you returned. And
That's
I
the
was just
worst
like,
part.
oh shit, like I haven't seen that little profile picture in a long ass time.
Yeah, you just fall off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing about Twitter is that like it really is like the congregation point where I have all these contacts and I literally just disappeared and then people go, oh, I didn't even notice you were gone.
Right,
Like,
because-
I know it's
we
fucking
felt the same way
horrifying.
about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
When that
Yeah.
mother disappeared off Twitter, I was like, does he even exist anymore? And you're
Is
like,
he
oh,
real?
yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that guy.
Was he ever real?
And that was the strongest man in the history of the planet.
Yeah.
Billionaire plus United States president. He's on.
It's crazy.
Holy
Because
shit.
you have however many like hardcore fans that are going to follow you between platforms. And that's why when you see something like Fuentes' audience that has managed to keep track of him for all these years, it's kind of incredible. But, you know, realistically, like
But
somebody
he has
like,
to devote all his energy to that.
yeah, but somebody like me who kind of like just followed you on Twitter one day on a whim and didn't really think that much about it, it's like that realistically it's tough. Yeah.
Disappeared.
Like, that follow's probably gone forever.
You've
And
had
all
Fuentes on, haven't you?
We did.
You did? How did it go?
Felt a little pointless, but it was all right, I guess. Yeah.
was this pre-yay or post-yay?
What, you really think he's gay?
No, yay.
I thought you said gay too.
I absolutely heard gay.
This was actually pre-Ye, and he
Pre-Ye.
was slurping up Kanye. No offense, Fuentes, but he was, you know, doing the whole song and dance of like, I love black music. I like Kanye West, because Kanye was already saying all the Christian shit and he's the Trump support type shit. So, you know, Fuentes is just going up. Like, he's so good at dancing around the whole like racism thing and just telling you all these things that kind of throw you off the scent.
Sometimes he's good at dancing around.
He
the
was,
Yeah.
but I will say it's pretty funny that when Kanye came out, he was more extreme than Fuentes was on almost everything. And then I look like an asshole trying to convince my audience, like, well, I don't know if Fuentes does like the full-on Nazi shit anymore. And then here comes
And then
Kanye, like,
Kanye
I
goes,
love Hitler.
I just love this
And I'm
Hitler
like,
guy. And you're like, well,
like, we told you.
Okay, but what
you did
was,
kind of take an L on that one.
what was the
Shit.
point where you stopped being able to be cool with Fuentes, or when did the communication cease?
Because I'm a loser who has a principled position on deplatforming. And I think that in almost no circumstances should somebody be deplatformed, save for like imminent threat to like life, right? Somebody's like trying to murder somebody or whatever. And I think that's been my position for roughly the past, like, I want to say 3 or 4 years, 4 or 5 years about. And Fuentes' little group of people got real mad at another ex-friend of mine who goes by the name MrGirl. And they got him spam reported his shit. And I basically told Fuentes, like, listen, we do funny content. Obviously, the streams are amazing or whatever, but like, you have to like super crack down on this shit. And he was like very tepid. He's like, oh, well, I don't even think we reported him. And like, oh, here's a clip from you in 2017 saying that you're for deplatforming. I was like, okay, well, dude. So I don't want to, I'm like I try to like, there are some cultural values that I feel very strongly about that I enforce like really hardcore. And one of that is that deplatforming shit. If I see people in my community even joke about it, they get and like,
so you went real hard for MrGirl for him to then launch an investigation into you.
Pretty weird, isn't it? I will say though, what is
the status of the investigation?
The status is, as of yesterday, he contacted like over 50 women that some that I even forgotten and he said he doesn't have a single person that wants to come forward with a rape allegation. So I beat the rape charges, okay?
Wow. Is he going to do like a This Is Your Life in Pussy for us? He's got all this information.
I'm chatting with a girl on my stream, and she's like, oh, I just got a DM from MrGirl asking if we're still platonic. Like, obsessed. Yeah, it's insane.
Do you think MrGirl should have been banned?
No, I don't think so. Absolutely not.
What's the worst thing he ever did on the platform? Because I never thought, I mean, I could see how the algorithm probably wouldn't have liked the I'm a pedophile song, but you know.
Well, as far as I understand, the reason he got banned was it was a video where he included a scene from a movie where it looks like somebody's sucking.
Really?
But it was actually, what's the movie where like he has like a chicken wing hanging out of his pants and the girl like eats the chicken wing? So it wasn't actually pornographic, but apparently Fuentes people were like, hey, maybe we can get this over on the censors and just mass reported it as pornographic content. Mm-hmm. So he got banned because YouTube thought he was posting porn and refuses to look at what the actual clip is and investigate it.
Damn, we need Elon to buy YouTube so we can get MrGirl back on the platform.
Oh, we just need an alternate video platform.
You don't think Rumble's it?
It could be if they, get their shit together.
100 million doesn't go very far.
I've looked at
100 million does not go that far.
It looks like the way websites looked like 15 years ago.
That being said, Rumble, we're down for an exclusivity deal anytime. Because I know you've been handing them out. Yeah, we love Rumble.
I'll make some alt-right content for Rumble.
They don't take alt-right content. They take alt-right content. I'm just kidding.
It has to be alt.
It's got to be alt, man.
Yeah, all they had to do is rip off YouTube, and it looks like a disaster. The interface.
Yeah, it looks like YouTube 20 years ago. It looks like something other than YouTube.
They're working on it, okay?
We love you, Rumble. Please give us
Can we not do this thing where we shit on every... Okay, listen. I agree that Rumble looks shitty right now, but competition is good, okay? So Rumble, keep trying. I hope you guys are watching. I hope the engineers are getting discouraged. Because, I get annoyed that it's only YouTube and Twitch. Okay, we should be able to walk to another platform if like shit is fucked. But I notice this thing happens where every time another platform pumps up, everybody is shitting. I was like, don't you guys want these people to succeed?
Even though Rumble is pretty pathetic at this current moment, like Steve will do it, having at least some option of a place to post his videos seems like a good thing, especially considering that what he got banned for is like the most egregious witch hunt ass shit imaginable.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back to a time before the social networks convinced us, like, just put all your stuff on our servers and let's get rid of all the personal websites and whatever else. You don't need that. Right. And they tricked us and took complete control. I want to go back to, like, I used to go to people's websites. I used to go to your website and Maddox's website and whatever the fuck else. Well, and they've destroyed
we romanticize that, though. A lot of them were dog shit. 98% of them were.
Yeah, 98% of them were dog shit, but the 2% that were good were really good.
I am worried about YouTube not thinking Rumble is competition. Like their new guy is an NFT blockchain guy. And I don't know if you're in the crypto space, but there's a concerted effort by big venture capitalists and these gatekeepers that we have right now running finance and running the world to take over Web3 and neuter it before plebs like us can take control and turn it into the Wild West that it should be. Like the SEC is going after it just for fun. There's a war being fought for freedom on Web3. And I think YouTube's going to, I hope they don't win, but I think they are making some moves to take it over.
I think Meta's going to win when the metaverse finally comes to town. I think it's going to be.
I just want to float around as a little armless guy and go on VR adventures.
Actually, JK, I think that's probably the dumbest thing that Facebook has ever invested money into. And I'm trying to figure out what the fuck they were thinking.
You got to believe.
Yeah, listen, as a huge shareholder right now on Facebook, I hope you guys do what you need to do to make it work really well.
You've been disappointed in their metaverse efforts?
I don't know. All I know is some shit turned around recently, and that stock is looking hella good compared to where I bought it.
It's coming back.
It felt like, what was it, like $85 a share, and I think they're back up to $180 now.
See, I'm not that invested. I'm not paying attention.
It's not like 300 at one point. It's fell to like 120.
I think there's very good academic ways to engage with really complicated and nuanced conversations about like racism and everything. And I think it's good to look at power structures and to analyze it and everything. But sometimes I always do this in debates when I'm having a conversation with somebody. Sometimes like, okay, hold on, let's take a step back, like really far back in the macro level. Like, what the f- are we arguing for right now? Because sometimes when you take a step back from a conversation, like, okay, well, what am I actually arguing for? You realize like, I think something is getting up right now because like I'm in a conversation where I'm arguing that it's okay to be racist against a certain group of people because maybe their ancestors did something bad. Like when you back up and you macro analyze things, I think you start to see like, okay, let's like refocus, because you can use academic definitions to get almost anywhere in a conversation, and it gets really, really weird at some point in time.
What was going through your head when Lex Friedman was grilling you about saying?
I just thought it was such a dumb conversation.
I was like,
You're supposed to say it was a
well, you were kind of like not engaging and just sort of like, okay, that's your opinion. All right. Like, but it was really hard to listen
There's
to.
something I've had to, this is such a hard thing for me to wrestle with. And I'm sure you guys have all of you have thought about this, is like, there's a certain amount of, I need to engage with the culture. And there's a certain amount of like, I want to change the culture. And you have to find a happy medium between the two. So like,
is the hill you're going to die on?
well, I mean, I can't say, I don't even know what I can say here. There's a lot of stuff I can't say anymore. So yeah, which hill are you going to die? I would drop.
I won't.
But
I can't think of a good reason to.
I'm a Massachusetts
just not
boy.
a
It is our
place it
sacred
with.
word
Where
in
at?
Massachusetts.
Where?
I lived in Western Mass and then most of my life, and then Boston for a bit.
I'm from New Hampshire, so
Oh,
kindred spirits.
so you're wicked at it as well.
Wicked.
That's
That's how
wicked
I grew
with
up.
that.
I grew up wicked gay.
Yeah.
Wicked,
Dude, you're wicked
queer.
gay right now. Stop it.
Wicked
So
fucking queer.
gay. Yeah. They can't take those words from us.
I know,
That's
they're
Boston
gone.
strong, man.
Yeah.
Those bombers came in, and we going to take our words away as well. Anyway,
We're definitely like the last ones fighting for it for sure.
Yeah, I worry about that too, because you don't want to be like, did anyone hear of like a grandma or grandpa that would still call, they weren't racist, but they would call black people like colored people?
sure.
Yeah.
I had a grandma that would say that. I was like, Grandma, you probably shouldn't. Well, I was too young. I didn't even know. I was like,
Yeah.
You probably shouldn't say that. She didn't mean anything about it. I wonder sometimes if that's like going to be us. Like our kids will look at us and be like, Dad,
But when I was
retarded
a
is just
kid,
not cool.
Our
Maybe
kids are
don't-
going to be too busy cutting off all their body parts to worry about what words we're
Jesus
saying.
but I
Christ.
think I remember my grandma saying colored and not even thinking it was offensive in any way, because I'm pretty sure in like the 80s it wasn't considered offensive.
It was
yet.
getting there. I don't know exactly when it turned around.
Well, because there's the NAACP, like they were owning it, like that was official shit.
I think 70s you started not being supposed to say colored.
I mean, it's fair. It sounds kind of old school for sure.
Yeah.
Look at all the style guides for like how to address, because we went through African Americans was a really good word because it described black people that
You
were the
think?
descendants of slaves in the United States. Yes,
Sure.
Because one problem we have today is I know this. I get so many emails from so many different types of black people. Like African Americans that are descendants of slaves in the United States that become like politically active get really irritated when a lot of the people that speak for these movements are black immigrants.
Right.
And if you're an
That's what I was
immigrant
saying.
from like Nigeria, from Kenya, or whatever, you're coming over, you're probably wealthy, you're usually really educated, and your lived experience is so much different than a descendant of a slave that grew up in like a different place, like an African American.
And
But
have
then-
a history of suffering.
yeah, exactly. It's a totally, but like African American became deprecated, and then we use like Black Americans. Now I think blacks is actually New York Times style guide, just black, which sounds racist to me. It's just even weird because we didn't used to say
Well,
that.
you capitalize it, so it's not
yeah, you
racist.
capitalize it, but yeah, but it's funny. Like
It's
how
hard to
many
say it
different
softly.
That's how
You can accidentally call someone black like a little bit too hard. You know?
maybe, yeah,
like
that
if you're in
feels
a bad mood and you're ranting about something, like, oh, well, which guy is it? The black guy over there. Oh, like, oh shit, that was
I
about
meant
something else.
The black guy over
It's
there.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, it gets so
I'm at the
weird.
black
And silly. I
gentleman
don't
over
know.
there.
No, but that is a good point, is that, there is no distinction between now black Americans and African Americans, because there are a lot of immigrants who.
Well, it's starting because now Democrats are learning that not all brown people are the same.
Yeah.
They've learned over the past two election cycles.
We also learned you can't just put an X at the end to make everybody happy.
Oh, for Latinx
Well, like,
or whatever?
yeah.
Oh my God.
You're
yeah.
Afro-Connects,
That no one cares
Latinx.
about that shit, yeah.
Are you a DeSantis ex-believer?
What do you mean, ex-believer?
Well, I just threw in the ex, but do you believe DeSantis could win?
I don't, dude, I'm, who the f makes any prediction more than 6 months out in American politics? I have no,
I know, but there's just
Yes.
I remember even like 6
could.
months ago, it was just like nonstop conversation of like DeSantis can unseat Trump. Like this is how it's going to go down.
Here's the
And
problem with Trump.
People seem a little bit less confident now.
Trump was a funny guy and he won big in his election. People like winners and people like funny dudes. Regardless of how much cope the Republicans are on, and they might not even know this, it's not fun watching Trump cry over and over and over again about losing the election. If he can just drop that shit and go back to like, what did he call him? meatball Santas or what
was he?
Yeah.
The sanctimonious.
Or he's got like if he goes
That's
back
not
to,
a good one.
He called him a groomer.
That's funny.
He's
Now
got to
that's
keep doing
funny.
that. That's great. That's hilarious.
if he can go back to like calling people names, doing funny shit like that, if like whatever. Maybe he can pick
DeSantis
up
is
Tim
not
Gunn.
funny. I don't think he's funny. Is he funny?
No, he's not funny. He
can't
talks
win.
like a nerd.
Yeah, you got to be
He wears
funny.
a suit to UFC events and chit chats with the Nelka boys and stuff though. So he kind of knows how to
I'm
like
gonna
blend
take
in
the
with.
porn out of the library. Shut up. It's not funny. Say something funny about it at least.
There's no way Biden doesn't win, right? Like the election harvesting
I think
shit is
it's-
still happening.
It's like 2 years. Fuck off.
it's-
Also, it's like we're still like 2 years from the election.
Sorry to,
I don't know.
Sorry to
If you want to hear that argument every week,
spoil the surprise.
check out the biggest problem in the universe because it comes up every week on the show.
What
Well, if Biden didn't steal all those fucking ballots,
jelly beans or whatever I have to call them on YouTube.
Biden stole all the jelly beans is the going discussion topic.
Damn, so you guys have to do that too? Because if you didn't know, on TikTok we all have to call ourselves corn stars, and you have to unalive yourself.
unalive.
Yeah.
Dude,
There's
that
a lot of
euphemism
even
shit,
weirder ones.
Oh, the graping. Oh my god, I just want to kill myself every time
So
unalive
painful.
myself.
And there's a lot of conversations of like, okay, is corn emoji star emoji, is that being shadow banned now? We don't
See,
know.
these tech companies will just tell us the rules. Say you can't say these words, and if you say them, this. But the problem is they don't want us to like subvert them and whatever else.
Yeah, but also you got to
I'm
really.
playing games with a like I hate that my life is dictated by a magic robot programmed by an asshole, and I go like, can I?
They ruined video games for you.
They've ruined everything. It's when I'm trying to title a YouTube video, I'm like, can I say like this guy died? Can I say like
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know?
almost everything I want to say is something that I probably shouldn't say in a YouTube title. Like everything we want to talk about
Yeah.
is like in some way violent or something offensive.
It's horrifying that our lives are being decided. Again, I don't know who it is, but I think it's these weird activists and these trust and safety committees.
I'm sure I don't know who it is.
Insane rules. That was the thing about the Netflix protest that drove me nuts. Is they go, we don't want to ban Chappelle. We just want you to put, I don't know, 5 or 10 trans people on the trust and safety team. And I go, oh, I know what you're doing. I get it. Because once you get in there, it's not about stopping Chappelle. It's about stopping the next Chappelle. Like a guy who's up and coming and he's funny and he's making jokes that are real and raw. And you go, he's a little problematic for the network. And you can just, again, you can unalive these people on social media. Like, I disappeared from Twitter and you didn't know I was gone. And a million other people didn't know I was gone.
I blame conservatives.
Sure,
They
go
needed-
nuts.
They shouldn't have made fun of the arts so much. It pisses me off because what happened is all the schools got taken over by lefties and liberals.
Yep.
All of entertainment, every musician, every artist, every stand-up comedian are all liberals because all conservatives did all the time was they shit on art, they shit on music, they shit on
still
anything.
do.
Yeah, and then they're like, well, I don't know how the schools are taking over because you sit here and said education was a waste of time for. You told everybody an electrician and a plumber. And now the conservatives are looking like. Lost the culture
Why
war. It's
don't-
like, you didn't even lose the culture war. You didn't even participate in the culture war. You just sat and watched it all roll by you. What the
You're like, why don't we own art? And it's like, 'cause you told everyone art's gay.
Yeah.
So all the gay kids
Exactly.
went to art school and became the next generation of
Yeah.
artists. You lose, sir. Good day.
What's the difference between JK Rowling and Scott Adams? Is it just that one person's
That JK
statements
Rowling
were-
is right.
Yeah, well, I would generally agree.
J.K. Rowling is kind of right, but
She's
anytime
kind of right.
she's got some good points, but anytime somebody gets that fixated on one thing, you gotta wonder,
But
right?
do you think she's that fixated? She hasn't made
She is
this
ultra
many public
fixated.
statements about it.
You ever
right?
meet a libertarian that knows the age of consent in all 50 states?
Probably MrGirl.
When you meet people like this, you're like, you're not saying anything wrong. It's a little weird that you're so obsessed with this
What is she
topic.
so fixated on? Just the erasure of women?
So if you didn't know this, every single British woman that is a feminist also hates trans people. All of them do. And here's the problem is initially JK Rowling said crazy shit, but trans activists online rose to the challenge and started to fulfill all the crazy shit she said. And now her arguments seem more legitimate. And then now that all steam.
She was right on accident, you mean?
Basically, yeah, because, but it's kind of like everybody from Twitter from 2016, where people are
Yeah.
like, oh, well, pretty soon, people are going to be kneeling and kissing the boots of black people in the streets while begging forgiveness. Like, no one's going to do this. This
And
is
then
so
they
great.
did-
And
they
then
did.
Yeah, and then they did. I was like, okay, well, yeah, I guess.
I always get people, nobody will ever get a female ID as like a joke to get fun benefits. And I'm like, I went through the DMV the day they put that rule into place and got a female ID.
Do you really?
I am now a legal woman in the state of California.
It's just, it gets a little goofy sometimes.
And then Biden starts going, I'm going to give tax credits to women. I'm like, all right,
then I'm
Biden,
going to do it then.
Let's line them up. You should go to the DMV and check a box and you get better taxes. And if you go to prison, you get to go to lady prison, which is a lot more fun, I imagine.
So,
You really think that they'd put you in the women's jail?
What legal reason would they have to deny me? I'm a woman.
Would you go for it, or would you be like,
I am
I'm going to be
a
with the
legal
boys?
woman in the state of California, and if they try to deny me, I'll sue their shit. Like,
God, imagine if you go to women's prison though and you can't even get laid in there.
No, it's going to be horrible for me. It's going to be
full of trans.
It'd be all over.
It's going to be all trans guys and ladies, and then I'm going to get
That's got to be a
passed
skit
around.
where a guy goes through 50 million hoops and he gets in to find, and it's like a 15-minute skit, and the final 5 seconds is him walking in, and it's a whole bunch of Vitos.
Time to meet my new cellmate. My name's Bruno. Damn it! Come on!
First time.
That's pretty crazy because that essentially turns like women's prisons into like a weird sex club meetup zone that you can now sort of enter into if you're clued in enough.
Exactly.
If you're watching your podcast.
Hey man, you got to run the system. Make the system work for you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if they take my female ID away, I'm okay with that because I don't think I'm supposed to have it. It makes no sense to me that I have it, but the fact that I have the ability to obtain it.
Wait, do you have it on you?
Yeah. I'll show you later.
Oh shit.
My picture is terrible.
Oh, not enough makeup that day? Or
Yeah, exactly. I went in like completely haggard and I'm like, oh, I really that picture.
you didn't even wear a dress for? You didn't even commit to the bit?
No, I just went in and I went to
Dick would have worn a dress. He would have went in
Why?
with
Why?
a bow in his hair.
I
Because
could
you're getting
be
a goddamn female ID.
A woman can be whatever she wants to be, Des.
Have you got pulled over at any point in the last
Yeah.
since you did this and the cops kind of confused?
I don't know. They kind of gave me a look, but then they're like,
He's like, do I want to go viral on TikTok today?
This body cam footage is coming out.
Going through TSA, they're kind of like, I don't know anymore. And then they just let you through. I think everybody is just kind of giving up on trying to figure it out.
Wow.
They're like, it's an ugly lady, but you know, what are you going to do?
So do you think I'm wrong for Destiny? You think like from what I've seen of the JK Rowling thing, I don't really feel like she said anything that offensive. Do you think it's offensive? Do you think the trans people are right?
Okay, here's the issue. JK Rowling initially made complaints. This is what all turfy women do, okay? Trans exclusionary radical feminists. Is they said that trans women were going to come in, they were going to steal our spaces and make us unsafe. That's what they said. I think 5 years ago, that was ridiculous to say because people weren't advocating for that. Trans people just wanted the right to medical care that wasn't cosmetic, that was covered by insurance, that could help them live the lives they wanted to live, which is fine. I think it was fine. But then things got a little bit crazy. COVID accelerated everything crazy. And now you've got people saying things like, I've seen huge Twitter threads with like 80,000 likes saying the only reason women's sports were invented was because women were kicking the ass of like all the men in sports. So I was like, have you ever seen a real man or woman in your entire life?
I've never seen women's sports, but I know that's not true.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you get all of these insane like posts. You're starting to see more of the like my 2-year-old daughter identified as a trans man or whatever.
Yeah,
you see all these things.
She picked up a G.I. Joe, and I knew.
Yeah.
One of the guys that assaulted us at the Netflix when we found out later his daughter or son, I don't remember which, was trans. So that's why it was such an important issue. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
My daughter's pretty into Buzz Lightyear. Is that a problematic?
Do you have a trans?
Yeah, it's just so now like all those turfy arguments seem a little bit.
No one's
more
going to cut
true.
off a little kid's dick. Now, we're kind of going in that direction.
But so you're admitting defeat here? You're saying
I'm
that
not
she was
admitting
right about
defeat.
everything?
I don't think she was right. I think she
You're saying
stumbled
you were
into
temporarily
she
right.
stumbled into the correct answer because people rose to the occasion to prove her correct.
Are a lot of your enemies like accidentally right sometimes, you find?
If you give them 5 years, I guess they will be right.
She was a predictor. She saw the writing on the wall.
That was my favorite part about
You
the
give them an
trans-
inch, they take a mile.
But
They take
Several inches.
Do you think
away.
that the massive success of Hogwarts Legacy is in some way making some trans people so and like the Chappelle thing I would say is similar where it's like some people just seem to be getting sick of this whole little scam that they've got us caught up in where they have convinced us that we need to be concerned with offending them all the time?
It's promoted all the time on the news. Like it's always trans this. I'm like, there's no way this is the only news.
It would appear that people aren't really going for it if you look at the Chappelle thing or the Hogwarts Legacy thing, right?
I think another issue too, I'm going to blame conservatives again, fuck them, is conservatives have no platform in this country anymore besides social issues. You ever notice that? Conservatives aren't talking about the economy or trade or even immigration anymore. All they want to talk about are trans people.
Yes.
I feel like every time a conservative opens his mouth, it's going to be repeating something JK Rowling said or talking about some trans woman that went in a bathroom or beat up a kid in school or some shit. And it's like, Jesus. So I think they drive a lot of the media cycle too, because right now they don't have much of an economic platform. It's all social
Their
shit.
platform is becoming the platform of these reactionary YouTubers where they're putting out political ads going, I'm going to de-wokeify America.
Yeah,
I'm like,
oh my God.
I don't want you to care about any
Raise
of that.
the minimum wage. What the
I'm going to punish Disney for putting a gay character in Buzz Lightyear. How does that help me pay my bills, you cocksucker? That's not helpful at all.
Political ads have basically become like Tim Pool thumbnails.
Yes. Dude, I saw one today, and it's like, don't you hate that these woke people are ruining your Star Wars? I'm like, that's my job. I complain about that, not you.
You should get canceled. I am for cancel culture, and it should be if you ever put the word woke in anything, just get off the internet for like you get a 2-week ban until nobody says woke anymore or anti-woke or whatever the fuck.
It's killing me.
Oh,
How much blame do trans people deserve for like this whole concept of like, well, I'm a woman now. Well, what is it then?
The problem is that there's 2 types of trans people, okay?
Not being able to drive. Like, what? Tell me what it is.
There are 2 types of trans people. There are the trans people that are like actually trans people, and if you meet them in real life, most of them just want to be able to do their shit pass and be left the fuck alone.
Yes.
They cringe when the Leah Thomas shit, they cringe when all the weird Twitter shit comes up. And then you have like, there's a new breed of trans person. And the new breed of trans person is an 18 to 24-year-old woman that has dyed her hair and has a septum piercing and identifies as a non-binary ZZM. And it's like the fastest growing. Like whenever you see stats that are like 10% of Americans are now trans, it's like 2% are trans and 98% are non-binary. And it's like these types of like college-age people. But the problem is that, and I've always said this, when you're in college, I think you should be crazy. You should be an activist. You should be out there because you're in college. It's your time to do that. That's fine. But the problem is now the way that they're expressing that is with transness, and that can't be attacked, right? If you back in the 90s or 2000s, you have like scene kids, you've got skaters, you've got goth kids, whatever. You want to say, like, listen,
make fun of them all the time.
Yeah, it's a phase. You'll grow out of it. Like you're goofy, whatever. But you can't say to a 19, like, oh, cute, you're non-binary. Like you'll figure your shit out in 4 years. You can't say that because now it's horrible. And the worst thing ever is we gave kids too much power because now a 20-year-old, no offense, thinks their opinion matters by going on social media and giving life advice and activist advice to the world by telling everybody how everything should be.
But it still goes back to the, like, what is his name? The porn star? Or her, I forget which one it is.
Buck Angel?
Buck Angel, yeah.
We love Buck.
We had him on a while back. He's fucking amazing.
I think, I don't want to mischaracterize what he says, but it all goes back to this, like, well, you can't tell me I'm not a woman question, right? Like, that seems to be the core problem with everybody involved in this, which is as soon as I have that identity, I can go to the bathroom, I can do all kinds of this other shit that biological women or whatever
there's no difference. They say
because there's no difference. And then everybody on their side, like even the people in the middle of this controversy, very few of them will say, "Well, there's a difference." Do you know what I mean?
Well,
like, it's
some
hard
of them
to get
now
them to
have gaslit themselves into going, you're right, there is no difference.
Exactly.
We only split up sports because the women were winning.
Yes.
But the problem is that you get, again, this is one of those things where you get horrible engagement from both sides. People on the left are pushing this idea of self-ID. If you say you're a woman, you're a woman. That's ridiculous.
Like me.
Nobody fucking views it that way. You don't do it that way. That's so stupid.
Okay.
But the problem on the right is the people go like, oh, well, like a woman is like a biological female. And it's like, realistically, these concepts mean more than that, right? Because you see somebody and you assume they're a woman, but you've never looked at their chromosomes, you've never touched their vagina, right? And then especially when conservatives make appeals where it's like, you should go to the bathroom that you're biologically sexed in. Bullshit.
Yeah.
You would kill yourself if you made a law that said that Buck Angel was going to be in a stall next to your little daughter. You would go crazy. Or if you said that Blair White was going into the men's bathroom, you wouldn't accept that, obviously, right? Yeah. So like, people.
Wait a minute. Why wouldn't I accept either of those things?
Because conservatives...
Because you'd see like, oh, that's what is that creep going into the women's room for?
Yeah. When it comes to like topics of gender and sex, it's a really complicated way that we like diagnose and analyze people or whatever.
But when I'm sitting there having a conversation the other day with Buck Angel and Blair White, and the version of like being a trans person that they embrace is basically one that I feel like almost every American could agree on, in the sense that like Blair White wants to use the women's bathroom, but she's not going to be naked and having people see her penis in the locker room at the gym. She thinks that would be inappropriate, which to me it obviously is. Like, if you want to pass as a trans woman and not be given a hard time or anything, you're not going to be fucking displaying your in public. And the people that you see doing that, which it's funny when you sit there and do podcasts with trans people, because you realize how much like image matters to them, because they're talking about the Wii Spot incident as if it's the biggest scam ever, because this woman is basically looking like Vito and not trying to pass as a woman at all. Beautiful. And it's just ridiculous to somebody like Buck or Blair White, who's like fully committed to portraying the gender that they identify as.
That's a big question is, okay, for Buck Angel and Blair White, it's very easy because they pass.
Right.
I go, yeah, that's pretty much a guy.
But they
yeah,
had to put in a lot of work to get there.
They did. But then you have a lot of trans people who go, I'm non-binary. I got a big old beard and I put on some mascara.
Yeah, but again, that's where you run into the
asshole.
issue. So there's a term that separates those two groups of people that I talked about before. Some people get really mad at this, but there's a term called gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria means you have an extreme discomfort with the way that you present versus the way that you feel inside. In my opinion, you don't have gender dysphoria, you're not a trans person. Because typically people that have dysphoria will seek to alleviate it by passing as the gender that they internally identify as. But the weird thing that you run into is you'll get these like trans women or trans men that'll be like, oh yeah, I'm trans, but I don't care about passing. In fact, I think a woman can be anything. I was like, well, if a woman can be anything, why the trans then?
Right, what is the difference?
Yeah, what the even saying at that point? Because you'll get people arguing for male lesbians, or you'll get people arguing for like trans masc femme people or whatever. And it's like at some point you're just talking about like your identity. Like you're not really talking about like gender at all. You just kind of are talking about like, your aesthetic. And it gets really stupid that it all falls under the umbrella of trans. Yeah,
that's the craziest thing, or like the hardest thing to parse from the trans community is they'll tell you a million things a trans person doesn't have to be. They'll go, a woman doesn't have to have a vagina. A woman doesn't have to have breasts. She doesn't have to have this, this, and this. And I go, okay, I got the list. I got the list. Yeah, I got the list of everything a woman doesn't have to have. Tell me something a woman does have to have.
Right.
Yeah.
Give me some way to delineate what is the difference between a man and a woman. And they go, it's just like what you feel, man.
And then that's when you have to back up, and then you ask the macro question, like, well, what the are you arguing? If you're telling me that there's no difference between a biological woman and a trans woman or cis woman, then why the are so many trans people killing themselves? Why not just tell them, hold on, don't kill yourself. There's no difference.
Yes, exactly.
Why are you suicidal, you dumb There's no
You're
difference.
already a woman.
Yeah, you're a woman.
Or a man.
But
whatever
clearly,
you want.
Yeah,
Yes,
but
it drives me
actual
nuts.
trans people clearly don't feel that way.
No,
they are
they have.
Exactly.
They know there's a difference.
Yeah.
They know they have a difference that they've defined for themselves. But when you ask them, okay, well, define it. What is it? Is it what you wear? Is it how you dress? Is it
but
how
if you
talk?
ask one of those trans people with dysphoria, because I've talked to a ton of them,
Yes.
they will give you
They'll
answers.
have an answer.
They'll say that like a woman's body, the silhouette looks different than a male's body.
Sure.
That when I've been on estrogen or whatever drug training for a while, my skin feels different. Like I have a different emotional foundation with the hormones going through me. Like they'll give you a lot of answers for what makes them feel more feminine versus what makes them feel more masculine.
Yeah.
But when you talk to like the non-binaries they're like, oh, I believe in gender abolition and none of it makes sense. And yeah, I identify as different pronouns depending on my mood. And it's like, okay, well, then.
I believe in gender abolition just so far as, let's just take it to the logical extreme and see what happens. Because I don't think anybody's going to be happy about it.
Well, how much of this is just driven by overregulation? Like, why do we have to have this conversation at all? Because
of the law, because it comes down to a matter of like legally, should a woman be allowed to, should LeBron James be allowed to play in the WNBA as a matter of like,
let's just get rid of the WNBA then. Problem solved. Everyone will be happy.
Well, that's taking it to its logical extreme. It's like, okay, let's abolish all women's spaces and see how everybody feels about it.
Is it Title IX related? Is that why we have to do this?
Yeah, probably.
Whenever I hear anybody arguing that the WNBA should get paid more, I think that abolition is probably a pretty good idea.
Yeah. You can pay them not to play.
I think they should get paid less.
Jesus.
A lot less. What were you going to say?
Well, that's mean.
Oh,
I think they should get paid whatever they're worth.
I think people just want like communities to fit in, and now like trans is kind of the new thing for a lot of kids because like a lot of kids probably feel like pretty like atomized is the term. We're all like pretty separated out, and like the internet is kind of like fundamentally altered the composition of the world in our lives, and people are just looking for places to fit in.
Yes, which is why we need to bring back goth kids full force. We need goth kids to make a return. If you're in a band right now, become a goth band, inspire kids, give them a subculture where they can feel weird and floaty and artistic and wear stupid clothes
listen to MGK
and paint
now.
their nails and not have to make weird decisions about gender and put themselves on hormones.
And everyone can hate them.
Yeah, and then everybody can hate on them because it's not really, we go, oh, those goth kids, they're stupid.
But
whatever.
when's the last time you even saw
But in a way, we
goth
kind of love
kid?
them.